All right. Hello, everybody. We're just going to get right into the game. This is the Bazaar, and it is a auto battler meets kind of like a card game, board game thing with a time table. It was very unique. It's very cool. So Duke is playing, and I'm here with at Real Merman and Reynad. I think Reynad is a developer, right?
I am.
All
Happy to be
right,
here.
cool. Yeah. So Duke's gonna be playing. Well, we can just talk about the game. So tell us, what is the Bazaar? What was the concept and all that?
Bazaar is the first hero builder. That's kind of what we decided to name the genre. It didn't exactly fit into any of the existing buckets. Auto Battler makes a bunch of assumptions about what it is, things that it just doesn't have. And Hero Builder just kind of fit best. But yeah, what we were shooting for is to make the best drafting game. That's the goal here. The best drafting game we could imagine. I'm a big fan of games like Magic the Gathering and really every card game. I played them at a competitive level. I streamed them for a very long time. And I really liked Constructed, where you sort of build a deck before you play. But the internet ruined it because everyone just copies the three best decks over and over now. And so drafting formats kind of don't have that problem. And I felt like a lot of the drafting games that were on the market are, you know, there's a lot unexplored. So we wanted to make a standalone game that was just dedicated to drafting. So it wasn't like a mini game or yeah, we just wanted to make the most replayable game we could, and then that way, when we introduce a new piece of content, like a new card, it gets the most bang for our buck. Basically, the most oomph is added to the game because it's permanently added to the card drafting pool. And so, the longer this game runs, the more content we add to it, the bigger the drafting pool grows, the more everything gets diluted. And the idea was this kind
Wow.
of expansive drafting game over time that just keeps getting bigger and richer.
I've been pre-playing it for the last 4 days just to get into it before we were playing it. Amazingly fun.
Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
and right, I played it for about an hour or so this morning just to like get to get an idea of what it's about. And I got to tell you, like everybody can see, obviously it pops in terms of the visuals. They just jump at you, so colorful, and it's very reminiscent of stuff that I've seen in card games, as well as like I don't know why, but I think of Blizzard when I look at this stuff. Like Blizzard's color style, like the way that they did the old Warcraft games. And I guess Hearthstone. I don't play those kinds of games, and I know that this is unique from those. So like, yeah, man, what's up with this art style? It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful. Yeah, our company was not actually a game studio originally. We were an esports team, and that was our core business for many years, Tempo Storm. And so when we started making a game, we tried doing it through other people. Like we would contract some company to make the game for us, and then I would be the only one at Tempo, sort of throwing design stuff over the wall for the first year. And it sort of limited how good of a game we could make. And we had to
I
build
think
a.
you made an amazing job with this game. I just want to check in with you. As you're the developer of this game and we're going to start playing it, what would you suggest I start with when I'm playing Mr. Piggy Bank?
Oh man, no wrong answers. The left one is kind of safe and a little lame, and the further right you go, the
The
riskier it
riskier
gets.
it gets, yeah. But then it's higher risk, higher reward, right?
I'm going to let Aaron pick. What we going to pick?
Oh, you got to go with the middle one. Let's just see.
All right, let's pick the middle one. Oh
Uh-oh.
no. No.
This is great. I think we're doing maintenance today on server stuff.
These
This
live
is so
demos,
good.
huh?
I've done
That's how you know it's real.
So here's the first problem. Here's the first problem we have that a bunch of roguelikes don't. We're actually a networked game, so you're like connected to the internet all the time. It makes our life 10 times harder in every way. But yeah, I'm sorry about this. On occasion, it disconnects.
Don't worry about it. Should I wait it out or should I restart or something? Oh, here we
Oh,
go.
no,
There you
you're
go.
good.
Yeah, it usually just kicks you to the home screen for a sec, and then you can go back in. Yeah, normally it doesn't make you wait.
It doesn't
Oh,
happen too often, just so the audience know. I played this game heavily for 4 days, but it does happen.
Yeah, once in a while. Yeah, today we're patching some back end stuff or some infrastructure stuff. That's what it is. But yeah, the art style is phenomenal. The art team did a great job on it. We're about an 80-person studio, and 40 of those folks are artists. So we're about half art.
Wow.
Every discipline, 2D, 3D, a lot of animators.
How is it to work with 40 artists? That sounds super hard.
It is. We have a phenomenal team, and luckily, when it comes to art, everyone can sort of work on one thing at a time. It doesn't require as much coordination as like engineering, and it's not as multidisciplinary. But the art team really honed in this art style for a long time. To answer your question, I'm a big fan of OG Blizzard, the golden years. It's one of my favorite game studios of all time. Warcraft 3 is one of my favorite games of all time.
Fuck yeah.
So a lot of our folks are ex Blizzard. So I think. There's that's where you're seeing some of that DNA, but really a lot of what Blizzard did at that time was just good game development. The colors popped, just the game was epic. The character design was well done. So we just tried to execute to the best of our ability across the board. But none of us have, or few of us have shipped a game before. So just
well,
yeah,
I think you did an amazing job, especially for a first-time game. That's fucking wild.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, tell us.
Only would let you play.
I know.
We're cutting this out.
You'll get in. Is it maybe your internet, Duke? Maybe.
Actually, I have
I have
inside
really
information. I'm talking with one of the server engineers right now, and they are investigating the problem. They know the server. They're saying it's down, so they said give us a minute. Talk about more fun stuff.
Don't worry about it. We're cutting this out.
And quit showing that damn reconnect screen, I think was the official quote.
Well, I'll ask Reynad. So what's the story? There's a story behind this. It definitely is so rich a setting with lots of interesting features to it. So what's like the basic story of the game and the setting that you guys have created for this?
So Bazaar is an intergalactic marketplace, sci-fi, fantasy, a bit of everything. At every decision point when we were making the world, when we had to decide, pirates or ninjas, we always said both for everything.
Yeah, so, and robots.
And robots and it's
aliens.
Aliens, yeah. It's a big blank canvas that we can keep adding stuff to for a very, very long time. And it's just the idea was a game that's expandable. So it has maximal design space. We can basically pick any theme, any character, throw it in, and in one way or another, it'll fit. But the story here, the idea is that the Bazaar is the greatest marketplace in the galaxy. And people from all sorts of cultures and planets are all coming in, joining the trade and barter on the lawless streets of the Bazaar, more or less. But yeah, it's trading themed. It's not violent. It's not, we didn't want to make it gritty or sad or post-apocalyptic. You're not a guy with a giant sword and a barren hellscape, running through the world. This is family-friendly, colorful, fun. Really just tried to make everything as fun as we can, top to bottom.
Yeah, it definitely has I think of. Do you guys remember the animated Sinbad movie with Brad Pitt? Anybody remember that one? It was done by DreamWorks. It was like. Yeah. It has that kind of vibe. It's like a swashbuckling and it's definitely lighthearted elements. So right now the game is in like an open beta.
It is,
and,
just became free about a week ago. Yeah.
Cool. And so right now, at least for the version I play, there were 2 playable. I guess these are the heroes. You said it's like a hero builder. So you pick one of the however many heroes there are, and then over time you kind of you give them more abilities, like the cards. I guess you build a deck for the hero. Is that what you mean by a hero builder?
Yeah, basically. Like most of the other auto battlers, everyone's drafting from the same pool. But in our game, the pool of items that you see depends on what hero you pick. So they all have 100 cards unique to them, and then we keep adding to that. So a couple of our heroes have 120 now. We just released some expansions last week. So basically the hero pool keeps growing and it's pretty big to start with. And your hero decides what you see.
We're going to get a recording of some gameplay that we can just play in the background so people can see.
Thanks so much, man. I'm sorry about the time.
It's okay.
At 2:10, I'm seeing.
Yeah.
What are the odds?
They're bringing the server spec up, by the way, just as a heads up. The DevOps team is on it. Yeah.
All right.
Right on.
So
But,
give
Great,
us an
Aaron.
idea.
Who are you talking to on the dev team? Maybe do you know
It-
all your
it-
developers?
this
Reynad?
particular issue is Andy's fault. So yeah, this is no, I don't know. It is TempoNet that's down, so he's the one that'll bring it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a funny
Heard it
aside, I
first from
guess.
Aaron.
Andy is a guy who I've worked with in a couple places, including Kabam, for many years, and now he's working with y'all. So that's cool. He said that he says it's DevOps' fault, by the way, but well, I'll let you guys solve that. But this is very cool. I was interested in, since the podcast, a lot of times it's a lot of devs, indie devs, aspiring devs, old devs. Can you just give us, like, how is it? Because you've been, what, 6 years at this?
Yeah, but up
So-
6 years, yeah.
And so I'm sure there's some, there's got to be some slogs, some great, some interesting stories over 6 years. How has it been developing a game for this long?
I think like with any big project, you start doing it for the right reasons, and then like at some point, I don't know. I think there's a part of game development that's really special, where it's my favorite artistic medium, where you keep it small, you make it with a friend or two or by yourself, and it's a really special, small scope, interactive piece of art. And that'll get you 95% of what's awesome about game dev, in my opinion. And yeah, and in my case, I sort of let my ego get away from me, and everything had to be Hearthstone scope from the get go, and it made the whole thing such a burden of scope. Like in that, I'm grateful to work with so many talented people to have the freedom to do certain things that a big team lets you do, but all the stress comes from the size of the thing. So I would just what I would say to anyone is all the low points in our journey for 6 years, the hardest, at least for me, for the hardest parts were, it started because of that scope issue, right? Like when you try to make it a big thing, and now all of a sudden, you're raising money through multiple rounds, and now you're managing all sorts of relationships, and your focus drifts more and more away from that, the
Yeah.
art of it, the design. That's what I like. I like just the foundational, like first principle, like design. Like I want to take it apart all the way to the roots and rebuild it in a different type of game, and you can do all of that without even coding. You can do that paper prototyping in card games. That's what I love about card games specifically. I feel like you can iterate on the most important part easiest, because you don't actually have to put it on the screen.
Can you tell us a war story?
A wars? Yeah, let me give you a war story. You asked how the art direction for this game was forged. It was forged in war, literally. Like I'm a Ukrainian immigrant, and when we decided to start outsourcing, I started looking originally in Canada, but then eventually Ukraine, and we found great partners to outsource a bunch of assets and help us make some vertical slices, some early demos. And this was before the war in Ukraine, so like 2019. 2018, 2019. And eventually, the war started, and it was like right on top of our art team. A whole bunch of folks had to relocate. It really affected a huge chunk of our team, a big chunk of our team's Ukrainian. So that was definitely like one of the,
Oh.
the world just
Wow.
sort of affects development, right? And it wasn't like a small deal. It was like a big chunk of our studio affected by that. Luckily, everyone's safe. Like it could have been
Wow,
worse,
that's
but
wild.
yeah. And so
You can
They-
see in the gritty art style, you know.
That's right.
I can share. Can I share the website? We can look at the website because it's got beautiful art there too. Is that something we can
Sure.
do? All right, let me share that with you guys. And we'll just do.
And so
my-
with those folks having to relocate, was there a downtime when the studio, did y'all stop development at all, or did you have to just sort of limp along? Or find replacements?
Everyone stayed the course and kept working. Fortunately, folks weren't drafted. Some of them had to, leave in a rush, and they had to take some time off to move the whole family cross continent or whatever it was. Every case was different, but yeah, overall, Yeah, everyone kept working through it. Which is one of the things that's so commendable about the team we have. Like, I'm very lucky to work with the people I do, and I think our studio, it wasn't just like the usual like organization challenges and funding challenges and the stuff that so many studios go through. It felt like stuff was sort of happening from all angles all the way through. But that's anything you do in life, I think, not just game dev, right? It's just going to be problems you're confronted with. But despite the sad the sad stuff going on outside, they made a pretty happy game. I mean, the look and feel of this is just fun across the board. Everyone really put a bit of love into the part of it that they owned,
Fuck
whatever
yeah.
it was, every discipline, and it shows. I think like they really. I hope that what we were trying to make is something timeless. It's one of the reasons everything's stylistic. We wanted to make something that stood the test of time as an IP, and hopefully it does.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely. I
okay,
mean, what was that?
I was just watching the early trailers. The animation quality is top tier.
Oh yeah,
Kind
the
of
intro.
mind-blowing.
It's beautiful. It is. It's
Yeah,
and
it really is.
and the thing is, sometimes a game, it really does need, like, if you want to make something that's really going to stick with people, good art direction. I think that is something that is often overlooked, and you can see that in the sort of like state of modern gaming today, where there's like games that might have a solid foundation, they might have solid gameplay, they might have a large budget, but the art direction is like sort of bland or even ugly, and something that could be much smaller, but you can tell is a labor of love. I think that stuff will stand out. People want to look at stuff that looks good. This looks great. This is, by the way, in the beta version that I played Vanessa, and I got to like level 5. But I wanted these are these all heroes that you can play as, like this robot and stuff.
That's right. Yeah, they are. These are our main characters. And these characters, the look of them has been changed even as recently as like a couple months ago. So the
Oh,
thing is,
really?
our art style didn't look like this from day one. It was an iterative process. You can see videos we did going back 6 years
Wow.
where it started way less refined, and iteratively it improved. It's for me, really, the test is what you're willing to call done. Because you can always make it better by destroying the whole thing, throwing it away, and rebuilding it 10% better, right? And there's all these realities stopping you from doing that. There's a limit to how much you can iterate. But for the art
Yeah.
direction, we just never stopped the path of improvement. We never called it done. They're still improving as a team, and I really like the trajectory. Yeah.
Right.
Quick question on there's 3 heroes you can pick, right? Out of the 5.
That's right. Yeah, right now we have 3. Yeah, we got the next one coming out with season 1 soon too. Yeah.
Who is your favorite character, and why is it the pig?
Oh man, it's hard to choose. It might be the pig. It's like picking a favorite kid. I like all of them. They're all personal to me in one way or another.
Gotcha.
I think Pygmalion is one of my favorites. So this one the amount of Pygmalions we had. Getting his look right took such a long time. There's something at the end where like he needs this like Jeff Bridges vibe. He needs like a warmer smile. He really looked more like warthog orc, angry until then,
Yeah.
not welcoming.
And
that really
guy from Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. And so that really like
Bebop.
Bebop, yeah, exactly. And so he went from looking scary to looking approachable. Like the merchant thing landed more on that last change. So you just have to keep hacking away at it, channel your inner cynic like a chisel.
One of his skins looked a little too inviting.
So what's the gameplay loop
money,
as
man.
we watch it? Like what's the general gameplay loop for people so they know what to expect?
Yeah, so you jump in, you pick a hero, and every step of the way it's the same thing. You just have a few choices and you pick one. That's every decision in the game. It's just like that first moment in Pokemon, Charmander, Squirtle, or Bulbasaur, over and over again. So you go on this adventure through the bazaar, you meet these merchants, and you buy items from them. Those items build up your board, and the fights all play themselves. So all you're really thinking about is what items do I want the whole time? How do I manage my money? How do I find the best synergies? How do my items work together so that I can... So that the way that the items are designed is not to be better or worse than other ones. They're all contextually powerful. So depending on what other items you have, the power level scales wildly on every item. And so it's not just about a hierarchy of power. It's about reacting contextually to what you already have. But yeah, you just keep taking stuff. Basically, it's the shopping spree in a toy store or whatever. When everything's free, you're throwing stuff in the shopping cart. It's kind of that feeling. But along the way, you meet these cool characters. It's great, rich world building and voice lines, and so it doesn't feel entirely mechanical. It's not just about the numbers. The combat comes to life. It's more visual. The characters speak to you. We put a great deal of effort into the design of the characters that aren't playable. So yeah, it's just trying to make a fun little adventure that's super replayable, and the game pieces interact in maximally different ways. Like the cards are very interoperable. In most auto battlers, it's asking you to like stack warriors. You know how many warriors you have decides how strong your buff is. And our game, it's not just like collect the warriors. It's more like a bunch of different discrete effects that can be combined in different ways. And so you get this emergent synergy, this emergent fun. So it's an emergent strategy game.
There's a ton of design that's gone into this, just because you're not copying something else, which is commendable, but also incredibly challenging. One of the fears for devs is that people will steal their ideas. And I remember you, if I'm not mistaken, you were pretty vocal early on about the designing in public. Did that have any negative effects on you by showing off your designs, years ago?
Our games were cloned, and they were cloned by games that people now say I cloned. And that our studio cloned, and it's pretty frustrating because we have all this video evidence for 6 years of what the game has been at every step. And I don't know. Look, overall, I've done a great deal of thinking on it. I don't think anyone did anything wrong. I don't think anyone can own ideas. Yeah, even the patent system looks increasingly ridiculous to me the more I think about it.
Absolutely.
And so I don't think that's what folks should be worried about. That being said, I do think it was a mistake to do open development before we launched the product. It helped cultivate like a small engaged community of fellow game developers. But all of our best design choices were met with the most criticism because they were the most different. And a big part of the psychological hurdle was ignoring audience feedback for design decisions, like a lot of them. Because had we done that, we would have just recreated a worse game. And we didn't. Yeah. So I don't know. I think open development is a mixed bag. On net, if you're doing something new and novel, I would launch it before you show it, I guess, if that's something you're worried about. But really, the product might have become better because we did open development, as frustrating as it is for like certain things to be taken from it. And ultimately, it might have helped make a bigger genre, that there's more than one successful game in this genre, right? Like I don't know that it took anything away from us that other games succeed with similar ideas. So yeah, overall, here's what I'll say about designing a different new type of game that wasn't there before. Everyone should still try to do it. I think it's just better business. The reality is every single experience that's fun is competing for your time. Netflix, YouTube, every game ever made. In that perspective, there's no reason to ever play a good video game again in your life. Why would you ever play a good video game when you could play a great video game instead, right? And so I'm just like fixated on how do you make like the best possible experience in like a niche. Because then you get 100% of the players for that niche. It's just like any other software business. It's a winner-take-all network effect. Why would you play the second best game when you could play the best game in a genre? The difference between a game like H1Z1 being the best and the second best battle royale was 100% of their player base. It's 100% of Ninja's stream time. And it's so I really. So in that vein of thinking, if you make something new that no one's made before, it's one of one. You are number one. And this is what a lot of games like Hearthstone did. Along the way of developing this game, a lot of people told me, "Oh, the TCG market's doing terribly. You shouldn't. Nobody's playing card games. You shouldn't make a game for that reason." But that logic is like provably irrational because it doesn't apply to Hearthstone. How big was the digital card game market before Hearthstone came out? I think a lot of times the games that are most successful are one of one. They do something different, or it applies to bands too, or really any form of art. Like it's better to be different than good business wise in a lot of cases. Ideally, or both. But I guess what I'm saying is I would encourage every developer to make something different because it's just commercially way more competitive. Because it's so easy to make like a even slightly worse version of something that already exists, and then all the players are just going to go to the slightly better thing. That's like my
Yep.
concern. So. Yeah.
Oh, that's a very good point about that. So what like is this sort of like what fantasy football is? Because I've never played any of that before. Is it
Yeah.
is it something
Yeah.
like that? Okay,
Exactly.
okay, cool.
That's exactly
But-
what it is. Every card is a player.
Yeah, okay. So this is what fantasy football would look like if it was something that was going to get my attention. Because I don't I don't do any of that. But this looks I really did get into this despite the fact that I never played games like this before. I wanted to ask, so as we're watching this guy play through, you said that every hero gets their own, like there's like their own path of them being built. So like the stuff that it comes up is sort of unique to them. Is it also like random too? Like it seems like all these choices, are they highly randomized? So like what would be the replay value of say playing the same hero and just trying to go in a different direction?
Yeah, there's a ton of replay value because even though every hero, you're seeing the same 100 cards every run with that hero, let's say, the merchant's only showing you 3 of them at a time, right? So
Yeah.
you're going to see different stuff every run. You're going to see cards from other heroes and mix and match. You're going to see so many different merchants that sell different types of things. There's ways you can enchant your cards and completely change what they do and upgrade them. Every card is actually 4 different cards in a sense because they have different tiers that they show up at.
Right.
And so sometimes you're interested in the same card just because it's a higher tier when you would otherwise not be interested in it. So yeah, I don't know. It's there's a lot of replay value, and I'd say that's probably the game's greatest strength.
Yeah, no, I'm totally seeing like new things, and does that also apply? Because one of the things that we were talking about before we started that made this unique is it has a kind of like multiplayer component to it, like where you can run into other players'
right.
builds, and then there's also like a PvE aspect where you're facing off against monsters and even like kind of like tough monsters, like boss monsters. Is that a fair way to describe it?
Yeah, totally. It's like Slay the Spire, but multiplayer. Like instead of a
Fuck
boss,
yeah.
you fight instead of a boss, you fight like another player. And instead of having to like manually play your cards one by one and min-max the numbers, the cards all play themselves. So you just focus on the taking rewards part.
Hey,
Yeah.
Reynard, you're gonna move this to mobile soon, right?
We're working on it right now. Yeah, hopefully at the tail end of the year would be the soonest it comes out. But no promises. We're trying our best. But yeah, it's our biggest project that we're working on is getting us onto phones. Yeah.
Because Aaron here, he also runs an auto battler, and he recently took it to mobile, didn't you?
Yeah, we're about ready to launch it. There's always little bits that suck with dealing with the external platforms, but
What would be your best advice be to Reynard?
well, it sounds like he's got the right timeline in mind. It's March, and he's talking about by the end of the year. So there's just months of stuff to deal with. As far as like historical advice from when I was at Kabam and dealing with the platforms, get in as make friends with your Google and your Apple reps, because they do control the visibility of your stuff, and the behind the scenes, how it's made is, your what's hot and your all that kind of stuff isn't purely algorithmic. You can get placed.
Oh, really?
And that was
Is that true?
Yeah, that's how Contest of Champions, Marvel Contest of Champions is what, like 7-8 years old, 9 years. I don't know how old's the thing now, 10 years, and it's still like a top 10 game, making 500-700 million dollars a year.
Oh.
So yeah, so we had when you get access at that level, they show you how it works, and it's definitely money talks. That's why it's tough as an indie. Like for now, my current studio, right? We don't have that. We don't have the $2 million GCP spend a month to go along with a good placement, So anyway, making friends with them is helpful because what they do is they'll tell you kind of the projects that are coming out, what types of games they're advertising, what types of, every couple of weeks they have this kind of change it up. And so you can get placed into those things, kind of like the Steam rankings, same thing on the stores, because what is it, 100 games a day come out? So it's not good enough to just launch it. You have to back the launch with, generally money.
Yeah.
We haven't spent $1 on marketing or user acquisition, and we never will. I have kind of a theory that distribution has changed in gaming. It used to be really ridden with gatekeepers, and the further back you go, the more that's the case. Like, it used to all be about being in the toy aisle in Walmart or whatever, and then the more, basically, I think over time it's gotten more fragmented, the video game distribution. And today, if people find a game, it's because they heard about it from a friend or from a content creator. And
Yep.
the thing about friends and content creators is, at least as far as the games they play, they have no loyalty. They just go to the best product organically. And so I think it's kind of never been a better time to be entirely product focused. And I think, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, even, I would find apps on like the Google Play Store. But like, I don't know the last time I've downloaded an app that way. And I'll probably do that less over time. So let them have their controlled platforms and their visibility and their fake top charts. But like, I think in the long run, we're just going to stay product focused. And my hope, my dream is that in the new distribution model, if it's purely meritocratic, the players would just go direct to the developer and get the game, because that's the way you cut out every middleman, every 30% cut, everything. You get them to come to your site directly. And I think over time, basically, the gatekeeper distributors are going to have less pull, and that should hopefully be the case one day soon.
Fuck
I
yeah,
think the gatekeepers
I agree
change.
with 100%. This is why we're doing the base game jam, trying to get the indies out there and making games.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, this looks.
How many
this
of
looks professional.
how many of you guys are gonna join the next game jam we're doing?
Next game jam. I don't know if
Yeah.
you're joining it. I'll join it, man. I need to get back to the fun part of this job.
Fuck yeah, I'm gonna hold you to that, man.
All right.
Yeah, this looks like it was made for mobile because it's very casual, like it's not intense. You just like, it's all about your choices. So I think this is perfect for a mobile device. Like, you just like, on a trip or something on the plane, you mess around with that. I don't know. If any of you guys that are watching have any questions or anything, let us know. I do have some people watching. Somebody in my chat said that, let me see, Gabriel Phelan Lucas said game patents shouldn't exist, and then followed up by saying Nintendo patented Eternal Darkness's sanity system, but I think it's expired now. Oh, so somebody can bring in the sanity system to their game.
That was such a good game.
Yeah, Eternal Darkness was something else, right?
I love that game. Oh man.
Yeah.
Making me unplug my controllers and plug them back in, thinking they were disconnected. It got me with the erased memory card one. I almost lost it.
Yeah, right.
It like kicked back to the main screen, no games. I mean, just the full on. I like reset the console and then see that I actually had the saves. It was insane. So I got a comment here on YouTube. Someone saying they love Pygmalion.
Pygmalion,
love him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The most fun build with him for me personally, for this only playing 4 days, kind of noob, is definitely doing having the doggo and that scaling shield card. I can't remember the name of it, but the card that once you sell something, it gets more powerful.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Regal Blade or Dog or something.
Were you afraid when you created those cards to get them balanced?
Yeah, they're kind of unbalanceable in a way. Like they always show up at the wrong time. They're auto pick early and they're not good enough late. So a lot of them have been redesigned. But yeah,
But
has
you
anyone
can
already
get the
come out?
mat pretty early though, right? From one of the starting mobs you face off.
yeah,
You get that one that gives you shield.
yeah. The Silk. Yeah.
Yeah, silk. Right.
Have people already revealed the meta for this to just crush it?
So the meta never settles too long because we actually patch pretty
Right.
aggressively. Every 2 weeks we shake things up, and this game is all numbers and they're all connected. So anytime we change some numbers, it radically makes everything feel different across the board. And so it hasn't really had time to settle for too long ever, and I don't think it
Yeah.
will. But there's
But-
definitely a meta. Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
must be kind of, the bigger the game become, kind of like Hearthstone, doesn't it become harder and harder to balance that kind of stuff? Or do you just go with the flow and, like the
I
more cards you have, do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, so like I have a very low opinion of balance in general, like as a goal. Like I think it can be so bad that it ruins your game, and you should never let balance get that bad. But
Mhm.
you'd be surprised at how like of all the 20 things you could focus on as a designer, like simplicity or UI UX or whatever. The balance is like bottom of the list for me because I noticed as we focused on it,
Mm.
or when balance was in better or worse states, it didn't really make the game much more fun when it was in a good spot. Also, balance is in the eye of the beholder, and so it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to apply good balance for everyone. Yeah, for us, like I don't think it makes it harder when you have more players. It might make it easier even. You have some better data, you could argue, or
Yeah.
maybe the flaws you have are more forgiving because they don't show up as often. I don't know.
Being
Sorry.
OP is amazing, right?
Yeah. Well, and you can just sort of like, if you're, I don't know if there's a way to monitor it, but you just see what people are doing, and then you usually can get a sense, oh, okay, we got to tweak that because this is, we're seeing this too much. It's not like something you should really fret over, because then you end up with what happened to Helldivers 2, where, they were so concerned with balancing everything and forgetting that there's kind of a power fantasy element to it that they made it less fun, and they had to go back on all of that, so. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think to concern yourself too much with balance, you're risking like making it less fun. And you can always just, make little adjustments later when you see. And probably it's better to just make everything stronger, like lift everything up instead of like, bringing things down.
Yeah. There's always going to be a bell curve of power, right? So you just sort of hit the ends over and over. It's the best you can do. And
Yeah,
if people are complaining, it's good. It means you have players.
that's true. That's true. So
What do you think about the build on the screen, by the way?
It'll get there. I got faith. It's not bad.
Yeah.
I don't know who's winning this one. You got some ways to go. I think you need the fixer upper build is really specific. You got to enchant it. You got to get the value up. I have
Yeah.
faith.
Defeat does not defeat me.
The fixer upper build. What would you say is your favorite build to play? I guess you like them all, but if you're gonna go in there and nitty gritty, let's start with the pig, everyone's favorite.
With pig. Oh man,
Yeah.
I like the hammer build. Just a big. You see, you have pawn shop. That's the item I would build around. I would make the biggest pawn shop I could, get infinite health. Yeah, just big pig, I guess. Nice and simple.
Fuck yeah.
One item goes off one time. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have favorites though. Kind of the great thing about the Bazaar is every build feels different. It's not like there's a group of builds and you're trying to recreate one of them over and over. It's like every build is this emergent, unique thing. You'll pretty much never draft the same build twice. You can, but it's hard, and for a lot of builds, it's almost impossible to replicate.
Is there an endpoint that you're playing towards? Like the game does it have an ending or a final boss or something like
You try to
that?
get Yeah, you try to get as many wins as you can, and it ends after you beat 10 players.
Oh,
You know, this might be like a controversial question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway because it's very recent and the focus right now. Um, what are you? There's been some changes in the monetization of the game. What are your term goals with that? Are you going for this new way, or like what's gonna happen long term?
So the monetization systems in the game are treated just like every other system. We just iteratively improve them. So just like I said, we did it with art direction, we do it with design, we do it with everything. So you see these like big patches every 2 weeks with a ton of stuff changing. That's like
Yeah.
a pretty different philosophy um, from how a lot of studios run. Because for us, we're trying to maximize iteration rate basically, and so
Best
monetization's no
way.
different. Monetization's no different. Like I said in the update video before the patch even went live, like we'll try it. We think it works, and if there's stuff that could be better, we change it next season. So that'll probably still be the case. We'll keep iterating on it. We do have some changes planned for season one that I think will be good, but yeah, it's the case where like
No, I gotcha, man. I joined in this one, so I haven't seen how it was before, but I'm having fun. I'm getting a bunch of keys and shit, so it's working.
man. Yeah, I think it could be better, but it's also like hard to gauge how certain people will respond to stuff. Like the topic of monetization is weird. Some of the responses are surprisingly unintuitive. Like certain things that we thought would be benign feel really bad to players, and certain things that we thought would feel bad nobody has issues with or like they
hmm.
even like. And so you really just sort of have to run it in the real world to see what the problems are. I think with monetization a lot of times, like
And you
yeah.
kind of have to remember that it's usually a small minority that cries out for every change you do, right?
Well, yeah, that's kind of the thing, right? There's when you get when you're on the internet, you get all sorts of folks, right? And happiness is on a bell curve, just like balance,
Yeah.
right? And the least happy people have bots now,
I'm
and
gonna tell my wife that happiness is
the
on a bell curve.
yeah, yeah,
Well, that
but
one's
no.
going up as the opening clip. Well, so do you guys? This is your first game?
It
Is
is,
that is
yeah.
that right? Wow. I
Yep.
mean, this looks like it's going to be a. I mean, are you doing well? Like, you get a lot of downloads. Are you optimistic about the potential for this game?
Yeah, 100%. We weren't getting much coverage for the first 4 months, and I was offended. I'm like, man, this game feels so good to me in the genre. There's no coverage from these gaming websites. Who and a little drama happens, and now there's all sorts of coverage, and it went very parabolic. So as usual, on the day of Reddit's boycott, we break player record numbers like every minute, and it's just
Ra-
yeah, it's been good. It's been
Reddit
good.
boycott. What am I hearing?
We had
Wait.
we had some drama for the first couple days after the monetization stuff launched. Some folks are upset, but it's been like honestly, I've been very happy with the player base. It's been very stable and climbing, and we think season one and mobile will be big bumps to it as well. But yeah, really, what we're trying to do is fall into a rhythm to actually make this a live service engine that can run. So everyone has like everyone has a stable job, and then the game has stable content going in on a rhythm that's sustainable, and just taking it from 0 to 1 is the entire focus. So yeah, the game is making more than enough money to sustain itself now, but time will tell. What is the retention like? What do people want to play a game like this for like more than a year, or do they sort of get their fill after 30 minutes or a month of no lifing it. We really got to see, but it looks good. The numbers look good. We're optimistic. Yeah.
Have you thought about more game modes or
Mhm.
like
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
like man, if
there's
you
so
keep
many
it fresh,
features.
right?
Yeah. There's a lot of features the game's missing. There's other modes we want. We really want a PvE mode, so no multiplayer at all, just entirely single player.
Oh,
Yeah. I think that.
I love that because every time I see one of these what is it called, grand founders, I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna get a new asshole. I want to
it-
play against the mobs.
it's a skill intensive game for sure. Yeah. And
So,
we
oh, I would no. Go ahead and finish your statement.
I was just gonna say we made some controversial design choices. Like we don't have skill-based matchmaking, right? So that's part of what makes us want PvE mode more. So have something for the casuals. Yeah, but there's other modes we're considering as well. More social stuff, more co-op stuff, all the above.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I like a co-op. That could be neat.
Co-op
I was just
usually
gonna
bring in
say,
more players as well because you're
yeah,
telling your friend like, hey, you need to play this with me tonight.
yeah.
I'm always telling
Um,
Aaron that, and he's like, fuck off, dude.
all the time. But I don't want to play Sims 3 anymore.
I'm sorry.
So I was gonna ask. So right now, the game, by the way, again, it's called the Bazaar, and we have a link to the website, so you guys can check it out in the description and download the beta. But what I was wondering about is if this is like a big hit, do you have like a game that you'd really like to make, like a dream title of some kind? I know it could be this. I don't know. I know that you were, obviously into those kinds of, card games and stuff. But is there some really ambitious dream game that you've always wanted to make?
I think the Bazaar has a lot of elements of like my dream game, but we're definitely anchored to what we started with in a lot of ways as a deck builder. And if I just completely clean slate did it again, I don't know that I would end up with exactly this. Yeah, the way I think about game development is I think the best way to do it is to not have the game in mind like before you start.
Really?
I like the organic because the other thing is just an exercise in stubbornness. It's like a game is such a complicated, interconnected thing. It has all the problems of a movie combined with all the problems of software development, and like to say that out of the gate, I know exactly what it's going to look like top to bottom, and this is what I'm building. Like the only way you'll ever be on point there is if you're cloning something. And I'm a big advocate of making something different because I just think it's more commercially viable. And so if you're making something different, it kind of has to be this organic process. You sort of start from first principles, paper, Sharpies, and you make something that's just different. And then you iterate on it organically, step by step, solving one problem at a time. You do that for a few years, you'll end up with a game that, at the start of that process, you couldn't have predicted what it would have looked like, but I think it makes a better game that way. So that's
Fuck
kind of
yeah.
how I think about it.
That's why you're gonna do a bunch of game jams.
That's right.
No, but it's a perfect process to see if something works, right? You mash something out and you see, is this fun, is this not fun, and then you kind of move on. That's it's kind of the process of it.
It's called finding the fun.
I kind of need to plug it though and say in 2 weeks we're gonna actually in 20 days the next game jam start. Everyone in our community, we are a game dev community first, so. Go
Super
join
exciting.
the jam.
Yeah, join the Discord. Yeah, I don't know. I'm. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, I want to talk about the like. I know I keep trying to bring it back to the business side of it, but a lot of the viewers ask those kind of questions, right? And so when you're talking about scaling your studio, what was your plan there? What was the actions that you took on the way up to, what is it, 80 folks?
Yeah, just a lot of mistakes. We started with one person on game development, 30 still on esports. and it sort of shifted over time. We became 30 folks working on the game, and you know, we had a round where we fundraised, we overhired, we had to have a round of layoffs after that. That was, a few years ago. We went through, pretty much all the traditional startup struggles over our years as a company in every business we've been involved in. Sorry, what was your question? I was teeing up the answer
Yeah,
to
just
it.
how did that hiring ramp go from
Yeah, so
from
so
one
so
to
there's we basically we used to hire a whole lot of folks all at once, and then a bunch of them wouldn't work out because when you hire too quickly, it's hard to, organically like make sure everything's going right. And now we're much more slow and consistent about it. We're very deliberate about who we're hiring, what skill set they need. We've narrowed down like the sweet spot for who we want to hire. Like we don't want anyone learning on the job, nobody junior for this scope of thing we're trying to build. But we also never hire into leadership ever. No executives, no director level hires anymore. Everyone's promoted from within. So you basically hire reliable, capable people. You give them more responsibility as they demonstrate that they can, handle it. And then, yeah, we've basically just we've seen the staff in our studio radically improve even in their discipline when they were great to begin with. So that's been going well. Yeah.
so you don't hire into leadership, so you sort of promote presumably the higher performers from each group.
Yeah, basically, yeah. We hire like senior level folks, and then we give them, we work them into the pipeline. We give them deliverables, responsibility. If they're doing well, we give them more. We promote them. We used to use external recruiters a bunch, and that was a big shift for us. It was expensive and not giving us the results we wanted, and so getting an internal recruiter made a world of difference for us. Not just savings wise, but just being on the same page and what we're looking for, culture wise, and everything. So that was a big step. But honestly, you want folks that are like an 11 out of 10 in one discipline, like whatever that is, and then you want them to do that thing. You want them to own that thing end to end, basically, with minimal disruption. That's what's worked well for us. So I think we have a lot of great specialists, and they're really good at talking to one another. Like in our esports days, we had a bunch of FPS teams, right? Like our PUBG team won all the North American leagues, and we had a bunch of CS:GO teams over the years. I noticed this pattern in shooters where the teams that won didn't necessarily have the best aimers, but they always had the best communication, like every time. And so
Oh, really? Wow.
yeah, like our PUBG team just had the best comms for sure. And so that we apply it to the studio. It's basically how do you keep everyone on the same page. But moving forward, it's going to change how we scale too, because like I think there's this exponential cost to communication overhead. Like basically, the more people you add to the team, the harder it is to keep everyone on the same page. And so I think it's harder to make a great game with 200 people than it is to make a great game with 100 people. And so, there's a hard ceiling we're setting. It's as arbitrary as it is at like 100 folks. We're at about 80 right now. We're never going
Too
to
much
go
red tape kind of deal, right?
right. Yeah, or just too many meetings, too many questions, too much information. And what you want are like fewer people that can be left on their own more, basically. And that creates more momentum.
All
It's
right.
really
That's
cool.
great.
We are at the 1 hour point here. I want to ask
Yeah.
you, Reynad, where can people find your game?
Playthebazaar.com. Yeah, come to us. We don't advertise. If you're hearing about the game, it's from someone cool. So give it a shot. It's worth your time.
Fuck
All
yeah.
right.
All right.
Well, thanks
And,
for giving us your time,
Brian?
and yeah,
Brian?
thank
Thanks,
you so much. Can you not hear me, Duke? I don't think Duke can hear me.
I hear you. I hear you. Fam.
Okay. Yeah, Reynard, thank you so much for giving us some of your time and allowing us to talk about your new game. It's called The Bazaar. I would highly suggest you check it out, and we'll be on the lookout for it to be released on mobile and everything else. If you want to come back on and share some updates or some new gameplay or something like that. And yeah, thanks guys for coming on the show. Thanks for everyone who participated in the conversation. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, Duke, go ahead.
Wait, Aaron,
Yes.
where can we find you?
Yeah.
You can find me Real Merman. Simple. If you like to hear an old guy talk about game dev or boring stuff,
or
weird stuff,
play your game, right?
or you can play our
Search up
game, Legends of
promotion.
Boom.
Yeah.
Look,
fuck
I'm trying to get Flip Rimrod, a bunch of airtime right now. This is about the Bazaar.
Gotcha.
That's right.
Yeah. No, it's great. It was great chatting with you. We really appreciate it. And a lot of the young folks coming up, these kind of things really help out. So thanks for dedicating some time, and hopefully we'll get some players for you. It's a win-win.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Until the game jam.
Thank you. All right.
Right.
See you guys.
See you.
We need to stay in StreamYard for a second.